So you don't need your own cars to make money in the car rental space. Um, like I said, the biggest, quickest story I have of co-hosting was me starting with no cars and no credit. And I remember in the beginning, I had asked myself, I watched someone do a podcast. They got 30 cars in 30 days. You guys may know who I'm talking about, that did the podcast. And I said, you know what? I don't want to risk, having 30 cars in my name. So I started pitching friends and family and people that I've done business with before. And people were asking me, well, why don't you do it? Like, why would you want me to finance a car if you want to do it? So I had to get really good at breaking everything down and making it easy. So I started, instead of going to people that didn't have a car yet and trying to convince them to do Turo, I started partnering with people that were already in the space and were having issues in their location. For instance, I had somebody send a car from Detroit because it was the winter. So, and they didn't have a car that should be really be driven out there in the winter and nobody was renting it. So they sent it to Vegas for that winter. So I did a lot of that. I partnered with a lot of people already doing Turo and we're getting burned out. We're not making enough money. So by the end of the session, you'll know how to start earning with zero inventory and avoid some of these major mistakes and potentially turn this into a six-figure business. So why co-hosting is the hidden gem? Simple. The traditional car rental models, you buy cars either cash. I didn't have $5,000 of cash. I wanted to invest it, and I didn't want to use my credit. Not because I had bad credit, but that's what some people have when they get into this space. But it's because I didn't want the liability in my personal name if somebody got in a really bad car accident, because they would be able to sue me, potentially get my real estate. So I didn't want to do that. So that's the traditional car rental model. You either finance a car through your business, your personal, or you're buying a cash car. So the co-hosting offers a unique approach compared to traditional rental models, allowing you to enter the market without any heavy upfront investment. The biggest investment co-hosting requires is understanding the space. So I had to do a lot of studying because I had to be doing pitching, and the second thing is just having the confidence to hear no. I heard five, six, seven people tell me no before someone finally told me yes. Some of the pros: no car payments, less risk, and easier to scale. So if you think about it, if you know five people with an extra car and you convince, two people, the results that you have will show the other people. So you can just say, hey, well, I have this car making X amount of dollars per month. Do you want to make money with like the other people on my fleet? Then it makes it a lot easier. So after I got the first car, it made it way easier to scale. And I didn't have to worry about anything like car payments. And I didn't have to worry about getting sued for my real estate because as a property manager, essentially, the owner is still liable for things. So we'll break that down, having a really good contract. So you stay in the property manager's role. You don't want to assume the liability of the vehicle from the owner. That's the biggest thing in this space is honestly the contract. So, and the demand, the biggest thing is figuring out the demand. There's a lot of fleet owners right now that are overwhelmed. I just talked to someone the other day, they had 15 cars and they felt like it was too much. Me and Jose talked to somebody recently that had 200 cars and he got kicked off of Turo. So he was looking for other ways to make money, like in the private rental space, but he wanted to do a JV. So a lot of people are getting overwhelmed and kind of tired of this space and they're trapped into these cars. Because think about it, if you have a finance car for 5 years and you're tired of Turo in year two, then what are you going to do? You're going to go bankrupt, or we offer the solution for people to just give us the cars. So a lot of times they'll be okay with giving us a car and making less money if, or cutting us in, if they're willing to get their time back, because it takes a lot of time to run 10, 15, 20 cars. So that's some of the biggest benefits I see. There's no cap on how much you can scale, meaning if you have a 700 credit score and you go get personal auto loans, there's eventually you can only get so many cars on your personal credit. You can get unlimited co-host deals. How many can you take? There's no limit on taking them from a different state. Uh, we took cars from across the country. We had somebody give us cars from Washington, D.C., all the way down to San Diego. So that's huge. So, co-hosting is simple. It's basically like a property management, but instead of for real estate, it's for vehicles. So you're managing someone else's car on a rental platform, whether you're doing private rental or Turo. The responsibilities of a co-host is to handle the listing, the pricing, all the guest screening, and the communication. And we handle claims as well. So our co-host partners don't have to deal with claims. We handle as much as we can without being the actual owner. So the earnings, the percentages usually go anywhere from 20 to 40% or flat fee monthly. And we'll get into that. But what we do is we do it simple. We do a 60-40 split off the gross amount. Simple. So if the car made $1,000, we make $400. We make 40%. Okay. This is very important that you guys write this down if you guys are going to do co-host deals. You want to make the money off the gross, not the net. So for instance, say we have a car that rented for $1,000. If we take it off the gross, which is just the revenue, we'll make $400. Okay. They'll make $600. Now, if we take it off the net, now let's say we have an expense, a maintenance expense that we had to pay 200. Okay. So if we minus the 200 out of the $1,000, now we're taking our 40% off of $800, which is $320. So we lose $80. And if you look at this at scale, maybe the owner gives you a vehicle and it has a lot of maintenance in 1 month. We don't want to be punished because of that. Because we take vehicles from owners that already have the car and we don't have any say so on what type of car it is really, we want to make sure we're getting paid off the gross. Once you guys start getting paid off the net and you start saying, hey, well, we'll pay for maintenance. Hey, we'll pay for, trackers. We'll pay for the car washes. Then you guys are really going to start eating into your profits. So what I look at this very simple 60-40 split. The owner pays for everything on their vehicle. And the reason why we tell our owners that is because it's a tax deduction for them. It's not a tax deduction for us. They'll get better benefits because they own the vehicle. So they'll be able to take depreciation of the vehicle potentially and whatever they paid into the vehicle. We can't. We can only pay on what expenses we paid. So it's very important. That's why we tell our investors, hey, you're able to write off multiple things, including what you pay us. And that typically makes it a lot easier to get it because it's a fact. And the biggest benefit for the owner is the owner gets a hands-off income. So we want to save them time. So this makes it a lot easier for people to get into the space. So whether you're going after people that already have vehicles and are already in the space and they want more time, or you're going after people that want to be in the space, but they're just not ready to dedicate all that time to. That's where co-hosting really comes to play. So here's some of the tools and systems you need. If you're doing a rental car platform like Turo, Hire Car isn't around anymore. I think Turo is the last one standing. Actually, there's another one in California specifically. So whether you do private rental or you rent it on one of the apps, you guys want to make sure you guys have a couple things. So like the trackers, CEO Mo and Jose both went over that. We like Advantage and Lender Systems, I believe is the second one we use. We always have two trackers in the vehicles, especially if it's a nice one that goes under the steering wheel, and then one that's hardwired to the car. So that way we're a little bit extra protected. And sometimes people will pull the tracker out inside of the car, which makes them think that that's all the trackers there is, unless you're dealing with a really high-end car. So when it comes like auto messaging and stuff like that, Turo on the Turo app, they made it where co-hosts can see the listings and stuff now, which is pretty cool. We don't really let them see the calendar. They don't really ask to see the calendar. What we do is every 2 weeks we pay them out and we send them a statement every 2 weeks. We send them a statement with our company letterhead, and if we spent any money on the car, we have $150 limit. So if it's under $150, we're not going to ask. We're just going to go get it done if the car is making money. If it's over $150, maintenance wise, we will ask the owner for permission before we do it. And a lot of times we'll get the money up front. So we send them a statement every 2 weeks. So that's where the CRM and the spreadsheet tracker comes. We use like Google Sheets. It makes it easier. And then we simply just Zelle them or Cash App them. Now, what I recommend on the tax side, if you guys are doing this, send your co-host partner a W-9 and have them sign that as soon as you get the car, because at the end of the year, you should be sending them some sort of 1099, depending on how your structure is. And then in the school group that everybody got should have access to, there's some contract templates that you guys can get. So now let's go over how to find and pitch owners. Okay. So you guys can do local outreach. You guys can Facebook Marketplace is all right, but I like Facebook groups. So if you guys go to Facebook Turo Host group, or if you guys are in the school Turo Host group, that's where all the people that want to do Turo are already at. A lot of people are already there. So it makes it a lot easier to find people in that industry that want to do it. When people are quitting the space and they want to just give their cars up, you can see when people are just getting tired of doing the day to day. And most of these groups, like we have a Turo host group on Facebook that has 4,000 people in it. Out of that 4,000 people, maybe 400 to 800 of them are actually hosts. So we have a bunch of people just sitting there kind of reading the story, seeing what's going on. Those are the people that we partner with. So what we do is we make simple posts in the group um without getting in trouble, because some of these groups will kick you out if you're posting, hey, who wants to co-host? So what we really do is we go in there just and kind of let people know what we're doing. Like if we have a new car, we'll go post, oh, new car added to the fleet. And now we'll start getting people's gears turning, saying, that's a person that is already doing it, right? That's a person that's doing well. And that's when I get a lot of people that contact me. So the key is when I post in groups, I want to post something that'll get other people to contact me. And as simple as just saying, hey, look, we just got a new, like yesterday, we just got a new Ford. So I'd go in the group, I'd post, hey, we got a new Ford. Typically, our cars like this make anywhere from 1,400 to 1,800 a month. That's it. I will not leave a call to action or nothing. People are going to comment on it anyways, and that's when it makes it easier for me to go ahead and pitch them. So if you're doing direct outreach to like people there's like a little script right here. I help car owners like you earn hands-free income by managing car like a rental property. You stay the owner, I do the work. That's how simple it is. At first, I got real nervous on asking people for their cars and stuff. It was like a weird thing to me. And then I got used to it because it is just like a rental property for real estate. And most people can understand that. But we don't understand that in the car space because it's like, oh, well, you're going to have my car. And it, that's why we have this little script. And then sometimes you can do like a test run, especially if you're new. If you have one car to like 3 cars, you might want to do a test run. And the good thing about the test run is it's good for you. We've had many co-hosts that we just didn't want to do business with anymore. And we have it where we can have a 30-day notice. And I've given that 30-day notice to multiple people because they have, you're dealing with people and sometimes you just don't do good business with them or they don't do good business with you, and it's just how it kind of goes, right? Sometimes you just don't, the personalities don't mix. But if you do offer a test run for 14 days, the key thing is here, some people will want you to like go to their keep the car at their house or keep the car at their location and you basically get it from them. No, when we do co-hosts, we tell them they have to give us the car and we're going to house the car, and we don't want them trying to drive it and not. So we get a lot of out of states. The people that are in state sometimes try to drive the cars, and we have it in our contract where they're not supposed to. And that's just because if you give me your vehicle And then in a week later, you call me and say, hey, I need the car. Okay, now I have to check if there's a trip or not. So now I have to block it off. So we're going to lose money potentially. And now I have to understand that you have the vehicle. Okay. So what if you go park somewhere and someone dings the door or something, and then no one even realizes it. And then at the end, when I give you the car back, you're like, yo, what is that? So if we do, we don't recommend doing that. In extreme circumstances, we had a co-host pick up the vehicle, and we made sure we had him sign a liability waiver, letting him know that since it's not in our possession, even though it's his car, we still need a paper trail. So this is something that's important. So I recommend if they're already talking like, oh, can I use a car sometimes? And if it's their only car, don't do it. It's not worth it. So if you guys do the test run, do it for a minimum 30 days so you guys can see how it goes. Now, what we do tell people is if you give me your car today, June 24th, and you say, hey, we make them put it 30 days in. So say in a week later, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. July 1st. Okay, I say, okay, well, that's your 30 days. So August 1st, you can get the car back if there's no trips booked. Now imagine you give me your car and in a week, I have a whole 2 months booked. I will pause the calendar on Turo, or if it's private rental, I will not accept any more bookings on it, but you have to fulfill the bookings because you don't want a co-host to give you the car and then you're canceling a bunch of bookings on Turo or even with your private rental guest. So it's very important to finish the trips. They can have the car back when the last trip is canceled, when the last trip is finished. So don't take any more, and that's it. We don't charge anything up front when it comes to getting on our fleet. I mean, we've tried it a couple different ways. I will tell you guys, if you guys have someone that's brand new, they're going to need a tracker and they're going to need different things. So we always tell them it's probably going to be about $250 just upfront that they're going to have to invest in the car. So now when it comes to legal and financial, the basics, we'll kind of go over this. I have a contract template that you guys can have. It's going to be in the school community. You guys should have the link already. So everything will be uploaded later today. So when it comes to the contract, it's very simple. You want to have your business name, their business name. The key things you want to include, these are just the basics, but these are key. You want to include your percentage, how much you're getting paid, and the frequency of you getting paid. We make sure we get all the payments to us. We don't send the payments to them and they pay us. No, no. We take all the payments first and then we pay them. So you got to tell them if you're going to pay them the first and the 15th. You got to tell them if you're going to do weekly. I recommend doing bi-weekly or monthly, but bi-weekly is typically the easiest. Um, that way we can have time in between because sometimes renters don't pay and then there's just a lot of confusion. So it gives you 2 weeks because if you do accounting every single week at scale, it becomes difficult. So you want to know the payments. You want something in there that talks about what happens. Okay. So like what happens if you're driving the car or a team member's driving the vehicle and somebody hits you or you hit somebody or you ding the car. We typically say our insurance is going to cover it. But if it's on a trip or on the way to a trip, then the owner's insurance would cover it. Or if somebody hits the car, that we would go after them. So that's the big thing. You want to waive your liability. You want to waive your liability if the vehicle gets crashed, damaged, totaled, stolen on Turo or private rental. Those are key things. If you don't do that in your contract, you are liable to get sued. And that's one of the quickest ways to get out the game besides having a totaled car for yourself. But in a co-host space, it's you got to protect this car like it's yours, and you have to protect yourself from the liability of everything. For instance, we have a co-hosted car that got in a really bad the renter got in a really bad accident. Somebody died as a result of their actions. And that's a big thing. But we have a contract. I have lawyers that we had to talk to, my lawyers, to make sure our contract stood up with not getting sued from our co-host because it happens. Because our co-host may be sued by the victims, and the victims can sue the co-host and the driver. The driver has insurance, full coverage, everything's good there, but somebody died. So that's like the worst case scenario you guys can look at in this space. So that's why we want to make sure you're covered. So those are the basics that we have. And then the things that you guys should be doing is like the things that Jose and Mo talked about, where whether it's verifying insurance or whether you're using like Bonsai, you guys want to make sure your documentation's up to par, because this can result in a call saying, well, you didn't do your job. You were negligent because you didn't verify that the renter didn't have an ID, or you didn't verify the renter didn't have insurance, or um, you didn't verify something. So you want to, or you didn't keep it. So you want to make sure you have your files, you have everything corrected, especially when you're dealing with someone else's car. So when it comes to insurance on something like this, you guys can go about it a couple different ways. So just for your business should have some sort of insurance. Now there's different policies that you guys can get for business insurance on your LLC, because that's gonna, if you got sued by a co-host, it wouldn't be the renter, it wouldn't be the, you know, renter, or it wouldn't be if somebody got an accident, it wouldn't be those people, it would be your co-host partner. So that would be a business to business lawsuit regarding like breach of contract or negligent. Basically, you messed up, you didn't do your job. So I want to sue you. So you want to have some sort of business insurance, umbrella insurance on your business if you're doing co-hosting at a scale. Another thing I would recommend, if you're doing co-hosting at scale, and what I mean is like you're doing 65 and that percent of your fleet is co-host, this is just a smart way to do it either way, is don't keep all your money in your business. So let's say you make 10,000 a month and you have good profit margin. So you're clearing like 5K profit per month after all business expenses, and you just keep 5K in your account. At the end of the year, you have $60,000. So if somebody sues you and they sue you, your partner actually gets to sue you, they're going to be able to access $60,000. That's why at the biggest levels of business, they have holdings companies and they funnel their money up into the holdings companies. That way, if you do get sued, you don't get sued for everything. So that's just some information on the liability. The biggest thing is the contracts and explaining it to your co-host partner. What we like to do now is, since we have the CRM Go High Level, our calls are recorded, or if we get on Zoom, that's going to be recorded. That way, we have documentation that we went over the contract. Because if I just send you a contract and you sign it, yeah, I mean, you sign the contract, but if you get a really good lawyer, you could say you didn't know, you had no clue what you're signing. So we go over it with them so they know what they're signing, and it covers us. Okay. So scaling to 5 to 10 cars. And basically at this point, you guys are going to have a bigger system. You guys are going to be doing, co-hosting at a scale, and you guys want to make sure you have everything down. So like the contracts, we at this point you should have stuff, different programs to help template stuff. So if you're not using Go High Level, which like includes everything, you guys should be using DocuSign. So you guys have one area for all your contracts to be. You guys should be using different templates like the co-hosting management templates. And then at scale, you guys will have a template you're already using for accounting. Okay. That's key. You want to make sure this is easy and easy to track, and you guys are make sure you guys are saving all the photos. So this is one thing that we really just started doing in the last year, and it's really good for compliance. As soon as we get the vehicle, we take 60 to 80 photos. We have a sheet, if we mark how many keys it came with, license plate, VIN number, different things like that. So we have that documentation. And then we send that Google Drive to the host. Typically they're out of state, and we let them know, hey, this is the condition of your car. They sign off on the condition of their car. Because we've had co-hosts come to us later talking about, I didn't know that scratch was there. And then what are we going to do? How do we dispute that? So that's why we do this now, because everybody can just go off the Google Drive photos. So that's key.
Hey, real quick, everyone. I see everyone has their cameras off today. So, I definitely want to see you guys have your camera on. I know this is the last day and you guys may be tired at this point, maybe not. And especially all of this legality and these parts like this. I mean, this is super important. Tomorrow and I, we are business partners, and tomorrow has really, really a lot of emphasis on this part of things, on the things that I don't understand so much. But if you guys don't understand this part, you guys need to understand it because yes, it seems like the legality side of the business is more complex and maybe harder to understand. But this is where you guys got to pay the most amount of attention because you can make all this money, but you gotta learn how to protect it. So I want to make sure all of you pay attention. It's the last day. Let's finish strong. Turn on your cameras because about 70% of you have your cameras on. So let's turn your cameras on. And if you guys are finding some value from this, just drop a one in the chat. Uh, if you want to co-host vehicles, or if you actually already co-host vehicles. And keep this in mind too. You can build a whole ecosystem. If you have someone co-hosting, you do a good job, say, hey, look, if you bring me three of your friends that have extra cars, I'll give you a percentage. So all of that will work to grow. But nonetheless, I'm gonna let Demaro go on. I just wanted to make sure everyone was active, paying attention to this part.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, if you guys already co-host, this is key. Because let me tell you, I woke up one night thinking, damn, we're not, because we were getting paid off the net. And I was like, dude, we're losing a lot of money. We're paying Ubers, we're paying all these fees. And that's when I got really focused on breaking down these deals. I got really focused on the liability because we had co-hosts come after a year with some random story that their car got messed up. I had a co-host that wanted to sue us because their car had too many miles on it, even though they signed a contract, even though I already went all through all this stuff. You see what I'm saying? So it's super key to have the legality stuff. And we made it simple in the school group. I'm going to give you guys a template you guys can use, but this is some stuff. A lot of times when these deals happen on joint venture deal, when you're new or you have 5 cars, you just want the car. So you're like, yeah, I'll pay for maintenance. Yeah, I'll do it for 25% net. Yeah, and you're doing all this stuff. And then you look at it and you're like, man, I'm working for peanuts here. And that's what we don't want to do. That's why I emphasize so much on the legality side and the numbers on this. So eventually, after you're scaling to 5 or 10 cars, once you have like one exotic car, if you guys are interested in getting exotics, it's a whole lot easier getting 2, 3, 4, 10. Once you have one. I flew all the way to Atlanta to lock in a deal. And the guy gave me, at the time, it was like $400,000 worth of cars, which was 3 cars, Maybach, BMW i8, two other cars, higher end Mercedes. And I had to fly all the way to Atlanta to go pick it up. So, and then we had some cars in Florida, a Bentley, AMG GT. So you can move into the higher profile partnerships. And just like Jose said, if you have one co-host and they like what you're doing, they're going to tell people. So what we do now is we actually let people partner with us, right? So there's a couple different options that you guys can do. You guys can do it yourself. That's why we have you guys on this challenge. And there's extensive information on co-hosting in the school group, as well as in the challenge tab in the school group. So you guys could do it yourself. Okay. If you guys want to partner us, we've had people partner with us and earn money as well because they didn't want to do co-host themselves. So we did a deal where they get a percentage without even having to manage the car either. They're basically middlemaning the deal. So that's another way that you guys can do it. If you guys want to work one-on-one with us, you guys are able to do that. We'll be going over that here in a minute. So if you guys want to get help with your first co-host car, we actually have one offer that's all included that we're going to be going over, and then we'll have a couple people do testimonials on here. I think if they're on, Jose, is Mariah on here?
Yeah. Yeah, she's on here.
Okay, cool, cool. So we're actually gonna have someone to come on and do a testimony. She's worked with us. She actually has some of her vehicles co-hosted with us, and we're gonna have her come on and kind of talk about her experience, so you guys can see firsthand what it looks like when you guys have a successful partnership. Because it comes down to the people. If you the cars are great, getting the cars is not the hard part. The hard part is keeping everybody, happy, and also keeping them informed. That's why all of our investors have the opportunity to learn free with us, because we want them to understand what space they're getting into as they're doing it. Some of our investors say, "No, I'm good. I trust you." Some of our investors just want to learn because eventually they want to do it themselves. So it's all about the people. Co-hosting is a really good thing if you really understand how to talk to people and how to, problem solve. Because essentially, somebody's trusting me with $30,000. That's how you guys should look at this. Because when we look at it as somebody's trusting us with a car, for some reason it seems different because we already have a bunch of cars. Somebody's trusting with you with $30,000 or $50,000, or if it's a high-end car, 70 to $150,000. Whether it's finance or whether it's cash, it's super important to do good by your investors.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, Mariah, you can come on and introduce yourself and talk about how you went from having no cars and how we helped you grow and then how everything's going as well.
Yes, so hey everybody, I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this. I started working with Jose and Demaria close to a year ago. I think my LLC formed in August, but I'm from Philadelphia. I flew all the way out to San Diego to get my business rolling because I had that much belief and trust in what Jose and Demaria were doing, and um with through the work that we've done together, I have about 6 or 7 cars on my fleet and working towards having an additional 10 by the end of the year. And what I really enjoy most about the mentorship is that they are very hands-on. Like we talk through text messages, Instagram, whatever. Like it doesn't matter if I have a question at 3 o'clock in the morning, like they're gonna get back to you within a timely manner. And working with them through the mentorship program, my business has grown and scaled in less than a year, so much further than what it would have grown and scaled compared to if I was trying to do this by myself. So, like I've heard somebody say, you're so focused on being a broke boss that you refuse to be a part of a rich team. Um, and it's better to work with people, and these guys, they know what they're doing. Like obviously, like you guys are all here to learn something from them. So 5 cars, 6 cars, working my way up to 15 cars with them, like the work just speaks for itself.
Perfect. Thank you, Mariah. Thank you for your input.
Yep.
Let's get it. Let's get it. And that's what we like to see. We want to see it be successful for everybody, because I know I've been I've been contacted on multiple occasions from people having their car co-hosted by somebody else, that I have to go get the car from this. Actually, like my first two co-hosts, the people that contacted me, we had mutual people that we knew, and the mutual people that were renting the cars out, they were not getting along anymore, and their cars were getting messed up. So they called me while they're in a different state, like, "Yo, I need you to go get my cars." So I had to go to the guy I kind of already know, like, it was just very awkward. Let's just say he didn't like me too much after that. So after I got two cars from him, this guy had a bunch of cars. So I got two cars from him. Then the guy called me back and he said, "Look, I need you to go get my homie's cars. He has another 5 cars with him." And it's because I did good with him. Now, what I did in the beginning, and this is why I'm telling you guys to do, is really understand the numbers and understand the liability. Then you don't have to change anything. I was going off the net in the beginning and it was like crushing us because we're only making like 200-300 bucks per car. We're doing all this stuff. We're contacting all these people. And that's where co-hosts go bad. When we start, the biggest thing I tell my team, and me and Jose talk about, is we don't want to set unrealistic expectations. People, the first thing they're going to ask you is, "Oh, so how much do you think I'm going to make?" This is your number, this is your first test. And if you mess this up, you're going to understand the relationship dynamic. Because when you start doing business with somebody, based off of how we operate in the beginning, is how we're going to think and expect during the life of everything. So you guys want to make sure you guys don't just go say a random number. Okay. You guys don't want to just say, hey, yeah, you know what? Your car is going to make 2,500. You don't want to say that. We go off of, listen, early on, we didn't say, I would say, I don't have the numbers. I just like, you know what? I don't know. And that was kind of weird because they're like, well, how don't you know? You're the Turo go. And I was just like, I don't want to say because my team was getting mad at me. So what we do now is we just go off of historical data. So say we got a Hyundai Sonata and they have maybe like a Kia Optima or something similar class. We'll give them the real world data numbers on that. At scale, you can do that. But say you have one car, or they say, hey, I want to give you a Corvette and you have a Kia. Then you have to go, where do you go get the data? We still use real world data, but we use it from other Turo hosts that we have in the area or other private rentals in the area.